everybody. It's Dr. Cindy from the Positively Altered podcast. I am a chiropractic internist and nutritionist. And here on the podcast, we love to discuss all things health related, whether it's physical, spiritual, emotional, personal, or business. And today is going to be absolutely no different. And what's going to be really fun today is I've got a great guest who emulates exactly what we are going to talk about. She shines, she sparkles, her energy is absolutely fantastic. And she has tons of experience, but loves to work with people, empowering them. And she has a goal of empowering one person every day for as long as she possibly can. So grab a bite to eat, something to drink, find a comfy spot on the couch. We're going to take a couple minutes to listen to some really important sponsors, and then we are going to be right back with today's guest.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? And we are back at the Positively Altered podcast from our commercial break. And thank you for hanging through that, because our sponsors are really important to us. But today we are going to talk about having a spark, and our guest today about being sparkly, and I'm not even sure that's the right term, right? Is Lynsey Mulder. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Dr. Cindy, thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here. This is like my favorite topic, and you're amazing. So thank you for having me.
And you're sparkling already, right? So I can feel the energy coming off, which is really good. But like, that's a word for you. It's a really important word, right? Is finding your spark. Let's just jump right in. Tell me what that means to find a spark.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, as you know, I've worked in the corporate world. I've owned my own businesses, and I kind of got to this point in my life where, like, from the outside, everything looked amazing. People said, you've got a great job, you're traveling, you know, your family's doing all kinds of stuff. But yet deep down inside, I felt like my spark was lost. I'd been nurturing everybody else in my world for so long that my wants and needs kind of sat back here in the corner, you know, and they started to fade. And I realized I got to figure out how to get my spark back. What does that look like? How do I go after it? What's the process? And so as I went through that journey, what I learned is that everybody around me was feeling the same way. And so it's been awesome to really dive into that and help empower other people to get their spark.
Okay, so I want to work backward a little bit. Let's reverse engineer this. Why do you think most of us lose that in the first place?
Yeah. In my research, 96% of people actually live their life on autopilot. So we do exactly what society tells us to do. I did that. When your little people say, what do you want to be? And you're like, Wonder Woman. That's what I want to be. Right. But by the time you're a teenager, you're changing that answer because it's like, oh no, I have to go to college. And you go to college and you get a degree in whatever. And so then you have to get a job in that degree and you do well and you get a promotion, and all of the intentionality of planning our life and figuring out what gets us excited falls to the wayside because we just roll forward. And then there's some point where all of a sudden we're like, there's got to be something more. I used to like to do this, or I really want to go after that. And in our world of the digital chaos, we start comparing ourselves and everything else. So we just live on autopilot and we don't really pause in the world to think about, what is that? What does get me excited? What did I love to do?
It's interesting when you say this, I start to think about my kids and the messaging that I gave them growing up. And I've tried actually really hard to be the antithesis of what you're talking about that we do, right?
Yes.
But I've always had this philosophy when I talk to and there's 3 kids, which most listeners know, is you have to figure out what you love, but you also have to figure out what the world needs. Because if you figure out what you love and the world doesn't need you, you're probably going to be pretty broke and lonely, right?
Yes.
But if you do what the world needs and you don't love it, you're going to be pretty bitter and miserable. So there's, I think, a really important connection that we still need, right? To make sure that we're not doing what society dictates, but there's still a space for us to be successful when we find the spark. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. And the other nuance to that is we can be really, really, really good at something, and that's still not our spark.
Okay.
And so we have to make sure that there's several different avenues that are fulfilled when you think about that. Like, does it actually light me up? Is it something that I would love to do? And I would do it whether I was getting paid or people noticed or anything else. And then is there a need in the world that will create a ripple effect? And when you can look at all 3 legs of that stool, you found it. You got your mojo. That's where your energy starts to come back and you get motivated again. And that's your spark. That's the sweet spot.
Okay, I love that. So I have a spark. I feel really good about my spark. Like, I stand on stage, I speak, I do these presentations and these workshops, and really it feeds my soul and I'm jazzed. But I do know lots of people in my space and even in my family that haven't found that. So, I got lucky, right? I think I just sort of happened into it. What do we do if we're that person that's like listening right now going, yeah, don't have it, don't know how to find it. What do I do next? Like, where do we dig deep enough to even start to learn what that really is if we don't know?
Yeah. I have a whole process that I take people through, but I do want to kind of highlight one piece that's really important. We are sometimes too close to it and also too removed from it that we can't even see it. So when we think about our values, our superpowers, our non-negotiables, we don't even know our superpowers. When someone comes up and they're like, hey, Dr. Cindy, you're amazing at this. What do we do? Oh, that's no big deal. Poo-poo it. Or we compare ourselves, right? Well, I might be a good speaker, but I'm not Tony Robbins. And so we start to do this comparison. And so we actually push our spark away unintentionally. There's only about 20% of the people in the world that can identify their spark and say they're actually living it. So for all of you listeners, I want you to know if what Cindy described right now is you are not alone. It is a process. You've got to pause and reflect and take into account, what on earth season of life am I in right now? Because my spark 5 years ago was different than it is today and is probably different than it will be in 5 years. We're not signing up for the next decade. We're like, what is it right now? What should I go after? So if you can really think about, what are my values? How do I align those to my life? What's my superpowers? Then create those non-negotiables to protect it. That's going to be your pathway forward.
Okay. So how much of this is because we hold ourselves back? So for example, I can sit here and go, I'm awesome at my craft, right? Like, yeah. I'm fantastic. I can rock a stage. I'm funny. By the way, I wanted to be the funny Tony Robbins of healthcare, except I still want to be Cindy Howard. So, right, I don't want to be him. And actually, I think I can rock I think I could.
You could, girl.
Tony, actually, I do. So if just in case he's listening, I challenge you, Tony. But I also think a level in today's society of that sounding obnoxious and like conceit as well.
Yeah.
So are we self-destructive when we recognize our superpower that we're almost afraid to say, I can rock this and I'm awesome? Because there are people out there that are going to be like, wow, that's pretty cocky and obnoxious.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually just answered an email from somebody on that exact same topic. And one way to think about it is your superpowers are a gift. So think about it, whether it's your birthday or Christmas or anything else, and you have this present, right? And you give it to that person and they're like, thank you. And they just sit it aside and they never actually open it. That's exactly what we do with our superpowers. We forget about them. We leave them in the box. We set them aside because we think if I admit it, I'm bragging, I'm being boastful. But think about this. If I come to you and I say, hey, you're my leader. And I'm like, you know what? In the past, I have really helped teams excel by organizing projects. And I would love to be a part of that and be able to use some of my skills that I've used in the past. That's not bragging. That's simply stating a fact. This is evidence that you are good at it. And so we can put that out. If someone else came and said that, we'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Take it. I don't want to do it. Right. But
Right.
we get in our mind this thing that, if I actually tell someone I'm bragging or I'm being boastful, when in reality, we can phrase those that I'm being helpful. I'm creating a ripple effect in the world. I'm using my strengths for good. When we do that, the whole energy starts to shift.
So how important do you think it is for those of us that struggle, or even those of us that just want to maintain our superpower that we've found, to have a good support team? I know one of the things that are really important to you every day is to empower somebody, right?
Yep.
Whoever that person is.
That's my mission.
It's right. And I think it's awesome, right? But a lot of us, I think, are missing that person in our life that helps us along that way to continue to empower us. Because I also think that support is, I guess what I'm saying is that I think sometimes in finding your spark, it can also feel lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of that is simply because the people closest to us are also going to try to protect us. So we know our brains were created to have this comfort zone. And as soon as we step out of it, we go into the fear zone and we start to hear that babble, in the back of our mind. Oh my gosh, don't go on this podcast because she might ask you a question that you can't answer. And oh my gosh, then you're going to sound silly. And so just don't do it, right? This mind babble takes over. In reality, the people in our first circle do the same thing for us. They're like, ooh, don't go out, don't start a podcast. What if you say the wrong thing? And you're like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be my biggest cheerleader. What happened? So sometimes our tribe that we think of when we think of supporting isn't that immediate circle. Sometimes it's actually going out and intentionally finding people like you and I, right? Finding people that we own our own businesses. We both like to speak. We need to lift each other up. We might not be besties that are texting about a glass of wine on Friday afternoon, but we can support each other towards our mission, hold each other accountable. So we have to think about our tribes differently than our best friend cheerleader circle, because that's not always the people that are going to lift us up in the way that we need it.
Yeah, it's so true. And sometimes they actually need the lifting too. And we get afraid to ask, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to be the cheerleader 24/7 when you don't have somebody to cheerlead as well for you.
Yes.
Interesting.
So true.
So do you have, I always love stories, right? So like, is there a story of the client or the person you've worked with or whoever it was that just seemed doomed, right, to not find their spark? And is there a good story you have about somebody that's in that rut and how they were able to find the unique way to overcome it?
Yeah, I actually have a client that I'm still working with. And so I got to be careful in what I say. But when she came to me, she thought she was coming to me for one thing. And she had a vision of opening a certain business. And when we really started digging into what she loves and what she's passionate about, it was an avenue that she could have taken and she would have been really successful. Don't get me wrong. She would have been. She's an amazing person. But as we kept diving into it, I could tell this isn't quite it. And so I kept digging. What are your superpowers? Who is it that you love to lift up? How do you like to use it? Because sometimes we think, I'm good at organizing, but this is how I've always done it. And so we don't think about all the other ways. What could you do? So in her situation, we really started to say, all right, who is it that we want to help? What is the skill set? And now let's just go out and start asking people, how do you think I could put these two things together and use it? She came up with a list of almost 100 different things. We circled the top 5 and said, we're going to start trying them. Went down one by one, started trying them. And about the 4th one, she said, this is it. And so now she just launched her own business. It is a completely different field than what she came to me for, but she's helping the people she wants to help. She's using the skills that she wants to use. And you can just see every single time you talk to her, her whole face is lit up. She's so excited. It's awesome. So it's not always what we think.
Yeah, that's so cool. So it's interesting when you say it was the 4th idea. Why do you think people are so afraid of the failure, right? Because I could, and even though I do believe I have my spark, I could sit here and say, well, I don't necessarily want to try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things to get to the one thing. But yet I truly believe that those failures are the lessons we need to actually find the value in the thing that's supposed to show up. But I think most people are afraid of the failure. Why is that getting so many people's way?
Well, and they also, just to add on to that, they also think that starting means you have to go all the way. Starting could be, I'm interested in opening a doggy daycare. Call someone who owns one. Figure out what their day-to-day life looks like. That's a 20-minute conversation to say, do I want to take just the next step forward? It doesn't have to be the full plan and get you all the way to the end before you say yes or no, right? It's really just that next step. But when we think about failure, I mean, that's honestly the most common. I don't want to leave my company because it's a good job. It's a bonus, or I don't want to make anyone mad in my family. And we start to think about those relationships, and really it's all positioning. How are you communicating? Why is this so important to you? What difference is this going to make in your life? Because when you can hone in on that core of why, there's no reason to stop. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. So often we think the people we care about is everybody. I care about what everyone on social media thinks about me. In reality, the people that I care what they think about can fit on this tiny little 1-inch index card, right? My kids, my husband, my parents, my few best friends. That's the people I care about. And if I'm going after my why, they're going to cheer me on.
Right. And what's funny is I think we think people care about what we care about. And I think the reality is even if they're our family, they really actually don't, right? They care about their own stuff.
Yeah.
They still can love us and support us, but really.
Yeah. And they want us to be happy no matter what it is that we're doing.
Yeah. Now I want to dive in a little bit to what you call non-negotiables. And I'm, in my journey of trying to inspire people, I always talk about creating a list in a relationship. And I always say, make a list of all the things that are really important to you. Okay. I have this list, 51 things I want in a man. I'm a little uptight and I have high expectations. Okay. So 51 things I want in a man. And really almost all of them are non-negotiables for me. Right. But I've prioritized them to where if somebody doesn't have 1 or 2 things, if it's the 1 or 2 on the top of my list, done. Right. If it's number 49, okay, maybe we can compromise because you're just that wonderful on 48. How important in your mind is non-negotiables in finding your spark? Because I think a lot of people also do justify their non-negotiables because one thing is attractive and yet what they really need isn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I write my non-negotiables in an affirmation statement way so that you can use them as non-negotiables, but also read them every day so that you're protecting it. I think about your non-negotiables as those bookends, the things that I will never give up. I will never give up time with my children, right? So how do I write that? I will be present for my kids anytime that they need me, but obviously not 24/7, but you get the gist, right? And so it's thinking about what would I absolutely not sacrifice in my life that's super important to me in this season, in this phase, because those change too. If you're studying for a certification to become a financial planner or something, that becomes a non-negotiable for that season of life. But as soon as you pass the test, you're back out to ladies' nights with your girlfriends. So it's for that time. But if you don't have those bookends, what happens is all of a sudden you become so focused. You're working 80 hours a week on that new business or that new spark that you're trying to understand or whatever that is. And all of the other things go to the wayside. Like you talked about, relationships start to suffer. Your finances might start to suffer. Your health might start to. So you have to create that protection, that boundary around yourself to make sure that you can even keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was sitting in a meeting with a group of speakers actually just the other day, and one piped up and she said, I'm planning this vacation I've always wanted to go on. So can everybody kind of let me know, like in the month of March, when I shouldn't book the trip because there's a lot of speaking events and I don't want to miss those. And I piped up right away and I said, what difference does it make? I said, just book the trip. If a speaking event comes up while you're on the trip, then you just say no to the event, right? Like to wait to commit to something around the what could be's and what ifs that you might miss. You were probably supposed to miss them anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're talking about a little bit too, right? With the bookends of like, this is what I need to sit within. Yeah. And if something fits within it, great. But if it doesn't, it's actually okay to say not the right time.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I just had that exact same example happen. And my husband and I, we put our vacations for the whole year on the calendar because when someone calls to speak, I need my team to know, no, she's gone. It's a non-negotiable. That's my re-energize, reset time. And I will be much better when I come back.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, I love it. Where do you like to travel?
Oh, I'm a travel junkie. So we've been all over the world and done all kinds of stuff. And when people ask me that, I always say, wait a minute, which experience are we talking about? Like rest and relaxation or history or adventure? Italy's probably one of my favorite places to go in the world. And so I love to go there, but obviously Cayman Islands and Aruba and some of those are at the top also.
Where's the one place you haven't been you'd like to see?
Croatia.
Okay.
That is on my list. That is, someone who used to work for me is from there and they talked about it all the time. And we thought we were going to get there last summer and then we ended up going on a different trip and didn't make it. So that's top of the list.
All right. Well, I'm going to put in the universe here, Lynsey, not that I want to pull you away from your family because I understand bookends. But I'm going to put in the universe that there's going to be a really cool speaking opportunity. They're going to need 2 keynote speakers. You and I are going to nail that and we're going to go together.
Yes, let's do it.
All right, good. So just planting that seed.
Out.
We'll see, because I would love to see. I hear it's just gorgeous there. I would love to see it too. And let's get paid to go there. I mean, why put the bill ourselves? Let's do that. All right. So let's back up again, just one more time for everybody listening who's like, yeah, I need my spark. And I know you said you have a whole plan and they need to call you to walk through the whole plan. But can you give our listeners like maybe just 1 or 2 little tasks that maybe they can start to implement as part of your whole program that they can do to see if they can at least jumpstart this activity?
Yeah. The first thing I would tell you is get real clear with your values. And what happens is people will always tell me, oh, they're, family, faith, and God. They put the top ones up there when in reality, it's a lot deeper. And I would also say the definition of the word is critical because respect is one of my top ones. Empowerment is one of my top ones. And you and I probably share that, right? But my definition of empowerment is probably different than yours. We need to list who are we empowering? How are we empowering? What does that actually feel like, look like? Why is that super important to us? So don't just identify your top 5 values, actually put the definitions behind them. When you create the definitions, then you can align your life so that you actually know, how do I use this? What does this mean? What decisions, what non-negotiables do I need to put in place? So that's really that first step. And then spend some time digging into your superpowers. And I tell people there's a great way to do this. Ask someone, describe a time when you saw me at my best. Just that question. Because if you walk up and I say, hey, Dr. Cindy, can you tell me my strengths? Immediately you go, ooh, what does she want to hear? I want to stay her friend. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm not going to tell her anything. But when you ask for a story, they're like, oh my gosh, you were on that one podcast and you shined. You were talking about, and it was amazing. You could tell you were all in. It was awesome, right? They tell you a story. From that, you're pulling it out. You're pulling out, ooh, what talents was I using? Where was my mindset? What was getting me excited about that? Why did I come off differently? And you start to pull your superpowers in slowly. And as you ask more people, then they start to show up in themes. And that gives you some insight into, okay, here's what I need to be using. And it also is funny because the patterns show up. oh, she's most excited when she's talking to women professionals, or she's most excited when she's rescuing animals and she's helping in the animal world. Whatever that is, those themes really start to show up. Those are the first two steps. We don't even talk about your passions and stuff until we really nail those down.
I love that.
I don't want to keep babbling, but people go, I'm not going to ask that. Then create a stinking Google form, right? It's not hard.
Yeah, everybody's really good at hiding behind the computer, right? So if you don't want to say it to somebody's face, you can answer anonymously on a what are the I was going to say the monkey poll. What's the Survey monkey, on a Survey Monkey poll, and then you get all that feedback,
Right. And you can give it back in a gift. So ask them the question, but have theirs ready. Hey, Dr. Cindy, one of the things I love about you is you just light people up. You make them feel good. You give them energy. You're always positive. You always have great advice. Give them the gift back. It feels damn good. Darn good. Can I say that? It feels really good when you get that gift back. You can say
anything you want on this podcast. We have no filter. We don't care. It doesn't matter. You can say anything you want. We will not bleep anything out unless you ask us to. So.
Well, it feels good when you get that gift back. So give it to your friends too.
I love that. And you said something that's really actually very important to me about defining the words and the values. It's so interesting to me now, and especially because, again, I have kids that are now young adults, but they use language I don't understand. They use words that I thought I knew the meaning of that now mean something else, and then I try to use it to be cool, and they just look at me like I have a third head. Because even when I use it right, it doesn't sound right coming out of a middle-aged woman, which I don't think is a big deal. But, they clearly think it's weird. But I do think it's really important because we use words all the time. And when we express them, if somebody doesn't truly understand our version, our meaning, because we don't understand our version and our meaning, how can we expect anybody to respond appropriately? So I love that. I'm going to start actually doing that exercise myself. I love that. That's something new for me to incorporate because I use different words when I empower people. And then now you've got me wondering if they even understand what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had that situation happen when I was leading a team. I made my team members do the exercise, and one of my team members had respect also. So I thought her definition was mine. That's how I treated her. And our relationship actually started just butting heads. And I thought, what on earth? I'm using her values. I'm giving. And so I finally had to sit down and go, okay, what's going on? And she said, you don't respect me. And I went, what? And so that opened up the conversation to talk about, well, what does that mean to you? What does respect mean to you? I don't want to violate that. Share. And that's when I really realized just how important it is. You've really got to lay those definitions out with your family, with your friends, anybody. And it's a great conversation piece. And if you're looking for like a date night activity, do it. Talk about your values, define it. It's kind of fun.
Okay, there you go. Family activity, work activity, date night activity, sitting alone in your room by yourself, write it out, right? It doesn't matter. You don't have to have other people to do this. I love this. I want to take a break here because I think that we need to sit with that thought and that concept of hopefully everybody's going to take this advice and make that a project. So let's take a quick break. We're going to listen to a couple more sponsors, Lynsey. And then I want to come back and I want to ask you some questions that I didn't prep you for. You up for that?
Ooh, okay. Let's do it.
We'll see what you can come up with. Sit tight. We are going to be right back on the Positively Altered podcast. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. Stop. Hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered. Hey everybody, I am Dr. Cindy and we are back after our last commercial break with Lynsey Mulder, and we have had a blast. This went by so fast because I just love this conversation, and we ended on figuring out the definition of our words, but now I want to figure out the answers to some really fun questions. Yup, Lynsey?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. If you could celebrate any holiday every day for the rest of your life, what holiday would you pick?
Oh my gosh. I think 4th of July. First of all, I love the bling, poof, poof. And then just getting together, having grill outs, picnics, all that kind of stuff. Our biggest 4th of July was actually COVID year. And we had just told a few friends, hey, why don't you come over? We can all sit in the back deck so you can stay separate if you want. We ended up with over 300 people in our backyard. Everybody brought fireworks. It was crazy. It was so much fun. We just had a complete blast. And those are the memories that I like to make when everybody's just enjoying themselves. They're not stressed out about presents and food and whatever. We're just having fun.
Okay. Should that ever come true, mental note, do not live next door to Lynsey.
We're in the country, so it's all good.
All right. So I'm going to make sure I'm across the country. I'll come once a year for my 4th of July.
Okay.
Right, mental note. Still fun, but mental note.
Yes.
All right. If you could be any character from any movie, who would you be?
Oh, wow. All of a sudden, cartoons are running through my mind, and it's probably not how I want to answer. I think of cartoons because they always have a hero, and they always have that person that maybe starts out as the underdog or with the big problem, and then they come out on top. And so I don't know, I probably have Wonder Woman stuff in my background. My kids always said my mom is Wonder Woman. And I think that's why, because, in real world, she's just a normal person. But then in those special moments, she can save the world.
Wonder Woman it is. It's a good one. Cool. Do you have a favorite nickname? And if not, would you like to have a nickname?
Yeah, I don't, because when I was little, I actually remember being in 1st or 2nd grade, and the teacher called me Lyns, and I raised my hand and I said, my name is Lynsey. And so my besties will still call me Lyns, and I don't care if people do now, but I've never had a nickname because of that. I think I've always just stuck to this is my name.
I love that. So out of my 3 kids, 2 of them have a 1-syllable name, and the last one is Jackson. And I was very uptight about giving him a 2-syllable name for that reason. I like the name Jackson. That's the name I gave him. I didn't want him to be Jack. I didn't want him to be Jackie. I didn't want him to be Jax, right? And he was just like you. He's like, my name is Jackson. When people are
so funny.
Yes.
My grandma picked nicknames for her kids before she named them. So my mom's name has nothing to do with her name. The name that she goes by has nothing to do with her real name. It's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. That is funny. And what would be her rationale for not using that name then?
I don't know. She always picked their nicknames first. Like you said, 1-syllable nicknames, but then their names are all longer.
Oh my gosh. I've never heard anybody do that. That's actually kind of fun.
Uh-huh.
I love that. All right. What is one skill you don't have that you would choose if you could learn it with absolutely no effort?
I am a very, very action-oriented person. So I'm constantly moving forward, thinking about the future. I have 1,010 ideas, but I don't necessarily act on all of them. And so right now in this world of AI, I'm trying to quickly figure out how do I develop my skills. There's so many things out there, but I want to figure them out so that I can act more on my ideas that I have and figure out a simpler way to put them into plan. And I think, as women, they talk about women are further behind in the AI evolution than men. And so I think that's one that a lot of us should have on our list as a skill that we need to develop.
Well, if I can blink and have it, I'm with you. But if I gotta work hard at it, I'm not so sure I'm joining you.
I know.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a little resistant. What do you think is the grossest food in the world?
So we were in Barcelona not that long ago. And, it's kind of funny because in Barcelona, they speak Catalan, where I know enough Spanish to be dangerous. So I thought that I was ordering stuffed mushrooms, and instead I ordered anchovies, and they showed up on our table. And I'm like, that has to be the grossest food in the world. Like, it's an entire little fish that are, and every color and the smells. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can't I can't do anchovies. And they sat on our table, and my two boys, bless their heart, they're like, Mom, we will try them. I'm like, you do not have to. But they did.
So the lesson in that is when you're in a foreign country, make sure you have a translator with you that understands what you are ordering in a restaurant.
Speak the same language.
Yeah. Okay. What, if any, song out there would be your theme song?
Oh, I just answered this question for someone else not that long ago, and I can't think what it was. I don't know if it's the words, but I want the Rocky music.
Uh-huh.
You know, you're running up and you're like, yeah. So I don't know if it's the words, but I want the beat. I want the energy. I want the excitement.
Love
So
that.
I think it's more about the music.
I love that. All right, Lynsey. And last question. You've been a rock star on these. Last question. What was your favorite thing about doing the podcast today?
Oh my gosh, I love chatting with you. I mean, all the things that you're doing are amazing. We come from the same world as far as what we're doing and lifting people up, and you fit my vibe. Like, you help with my mission. My mission's to empower 1 million people, and you gave me that opportunity. And so I love that. But any conversation I get to have with you is amazing.
So fun, Lynsey. How does everybody find you, get a hold of you, follow you, learn more from you?
Yeah. So find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram. You can visit me at LynseyMulder.com. Just make sure you get the spelling right. Lynsey. That's a unique thing my mama gave me. So LynseyMulder.com.
I love it. And we'll make sure that's in the show notes. Lynsey, thank you so much for your time today. If you want to learn a little bit more about what's going on in our world, please check us out at drcindyspeaks.com or shoot us an email at hello@drcindyspeaks.com. And if you haven't read or listened to the book yet, and shame on you for not doing that, please make sure you pick up your copy called Positively Altered, Finding Happiness at the Bottom of a Chemo Bag. And if you don't want to read it, the voice that I am now losing on this podcast is much crisper on the audio version if you want to listen to it. So check it out that way. Lynsey, I will tell you, my favorite thing about doing the podcast today was really just bouncing off of your energy and, quite frankly, getting a unique tool that now I'm going to go utilize. Because, you know, when we empower people, we think we have all the answers. And today I was able to recognize once again that I don't, but there are good ones out there that I can incorporate. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your enthusiasm for, I'm going to maintain my spark. I don't think I need to find it, but I am going to maintain it by doing some of the work that you have shared. And I hope everybody who has listened today has been positively altered.